Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Rebecca, I know, Marnie isn't coming. Are there any other ERB members that we're waiting on?
I see Patrick is in here, Noah,
Good morning.
Jennifer, and Clark. I believe that's who we're anticipating being in the meeting. So there's one person I didn't hear back from. I think that we can probably go ahead and start up.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. So my name is Courtney McCammon. I would like to call to order the Malibu Environmental Review Board meeting of May 22nd, 2024. This meeting is being held by teleconference. Boards and city staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public can participate in the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to speak during the meeting must click the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen to indicate a desire after the item has been announced by the chair and must be present in the teleconference when called upon to be recognized. Once called upon, please lower your hand in the Zoom meeting. Board members, if you have comments to make during this meeting, please raise your hand using the raise hand link at the bottom of your screen, and I will call on you in turn so we can make our discussion clear for the record and for the public. All right, so I will go to item number 1, written and oral communications from staff and the board. Are there any at this time?
There are no formal communications. I do want to just remind the members, as Courtney mentioned earlier, Marnie's going to be out of town. What she is doing is reviewing the projects and providing input if she sees any concerns. Any member of the board that has a conflict is welcome to do that at any future meeting. We also don't have any old business agendized today.
Got it. Okay, so then we will move on to item number 3, and we're going to flip the project. So the first project that we will hear today is going to be CDP 21-035, and I will let the planner take it away.
Right. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to meet you on the ERB. My name is Brenna Wenger. I'm a contract planner with CSG Consultants. This is my first ERB meeting, so it's very nice to meet you all, and I look forward to working with you in the future. So the project that we have in front of us today is a CDP for a new rope fence across the width of a vacant beachfront parcel. The application includes a variance for encroachment into an ESHA buffer. Next slide, please. So this is the vicinity map. We have the project site here at 24714 Malibu Road. It is that entire rectangular parcel. It has public beach access off to the east side. And we have this drainage swell that feeds directly into the property. We can see kind of like the grayish brown watermarks going through the property. The applicant came to us in 2021 to submit their project for a rope fence. There's been a lot of concern about public safety on the lot, children climbing on the rocks, a lot of trash and debris, people lighting fires into the homes, just making sure that the property owner wants to make sure that the property is secured, both to protect the environmental area, so with that drainage swell, as well as protect the properties on the sides. So next slide, please. So here's the project background. So as I mentioned, the applicant applied for a CDP for the construction of the rope fence. It was routed to coastal engineering, city biologist, and public works for conformance review. We went back and forth with quite a few discussions. And on March 19th of this year, we determined that the review by ERB was required for the project, as it does have potential to impact special status biological resources through the encroachment. So because that stream runs directly through the center, as we saw on the previous slide, the 100-foot buffer does apply to each side of the stream, therefore making development on the property very difficult. Next slide, please. The proposed scope of work, it is a simple scope of work. It's a 234-foot long, 6-foot tall rope fence along the vacant beachfront parcel. The project includes 2 discretionary requests: the coastal development permit for the fence and a variance to allow the development to encroach into the ESHA buffer. Next slide, please. Here's a copy of the site plan that was submitted. Here we show the length of the fence. We show the posts spaced out at 30-foot intervals. We went back and forth in discussions over alternate locations. The project that's shown on the project plans is the result of multiple revisions and discussions. Siting the project anywhere else in the property does bring the posts closer to the ESHA area, and it would still be within that 100-foot buffer. So the location chosen is outside of the mean high tide line as recommended by coastal and was recommended to avoid impacting public beach access on the site. It is also proposed to be 10 feet from the base of the slope towards the rear of the property, towards Malibu Road. And the biological assessment that was submitted did not consider any other locations for the project. So that's just something to keep in mind. Next, please. So here's some site photos. This is the current drainage as taken from the site. Next slide, please. This is a picture submitted by the applicant of just trash and debris that's been left on the property by beachgoers. Next slide, please. And here's an image from LARIAC. This picture was actually taken in May of 2023. So apologies for the incorrect citation there, but this picture was taken in May of 2023. We can see the drainage path going through the center of the site here. I think depending on runoff and the levels of rain we've been receiving, it is either more apparent in certain times of the year. Next slide, please. So that concludes my presentation. Our recommendations of the ERB will be incorporated into the agenda report for Planning Commission review, and I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenna. I really appreciate that. Rebecca, do we have the applicant here that needs to speak before taking ERB comments?
Yes, we do. And you can go ahead and speak now. You have 15 minutes.
Hi, this is Dr. Sam. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, just as the young lady just described, we're trying to safeguard this property. And we did have a biology report that was done back in 2021 as requested. It was, I don't know if you have that. I can, I have it 1 second here. The name of the biologist, Edith Reed. And, you know, she didn't see any problems, biological problems or any issues with this. And actually she was questioning me, why is this, you know, why this is being requested. But she wrote in her report that she didn't see any issues. Our main goal is to safeguard this property. We're not looking to build it, or we bought the land very cheap. We're trying to just safeguard it because our house is right next to it. And the prior owner was not letting us, you know, put this fence. And this was requested by the sheriff department to be able to, you know, control this lot. They wouldn't do it unless the boundary of the lot is marked. So this is the purpose of, it's not a fence actually, this rope showing the boundaries. They asked us to put private property signs so they can come in and enforce any bad elements that keeps coming to this community, to this lot. So if any question, that's, you know, I just want to describe our position. Again, we're not looking to do any kind of building. We cannot build this lot. There's so many, you know, easements and so on it. And we just trying to safeguard the community, the covert, and the neighbors and our own house from some of the bad elements that we're cleaning the lot every week. I'm there personally. I'm going and cleaning trash and doing all I can as a good citizen. Or it's our lot, but it's useless lot. But we just need to get help from the sheriff, and this is the only way to put this fence. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate those comments. All right, so I think we're gonna open it up to our ERB members at this time, and I see Noah, if you would like to start the conversation.
Hi, thank you very much, especially for Sahil. No, sorry, Sahil. Your description of the reason for this fence actually answered a lot of my questions that I had, so I appreciate that. And that does make sense. So it's a symbolic fence, and it provides for the sheriff to be able to enforce trespassing ordinance. My question is, the construction of the fence, how is it being anchored in? Is it just being pounded in, or is it going to be cement beneath the posts?
I can answer that. So from the site plan, it appears it'll be a helix, so it'll be.
And
Oops, sorry, you're cutting out there.
Yeah, Noah, you're cutting in and out. Noah, my suggestion would be to turn your video off, because sometimes that can make your connection better.
First question. Second question is, yeah, so about the construction of the fence. And then the second question is whether or not any sea level rise analysis has been done for the position of the fence to make sure it doesn't end up in the ocean.
If I can, am I able to share my screen? I can pull up the site plan that shows how the posts will be installed.
You
Yeah,
are
you can
not
do
able. Oh, I don't believe she can actually.
If not,
Parker, if you're present in the meeting, if you could let me know if that's available. We typically don't allow screen sharing in these meetings.
You can try it now.
okay, let me try. And if not, it's on page 90 of the packet. Let me go ahead. There we go. Okay, are we able to see?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so the post, essentially would be, yes, put down, as a helix here, so it just spiral down into the ground. And then in regards to the sea level rise, I believe Coastal did review this, and determined it was out of the way of the mean high tide line. But I would have to defer to Lauren to see whether she had reviewed, the sea level rise.
All right. So, may I respond?
Of course.
Am I coming in clearly? Yeah. Okay. So it looks like it goes down pretty deep. Will this be installed using any sort of equipment?
This one, Davis, if
That's
you're,
gonna drive over the sand?
Davis, or to you for the applicant.
I can answer that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, they're gonna use hand held kind of drills that goes all the way into the bedrock. So we're not gonna be using any heavy equipment on the beach. Davis is our architect and builder. I think he's having issues with the connecting. So he's done this at other jobs. So again, no heavy equipment on the beach. It's just handheld drills that go all the way down.
Okay. In that case, I have no concerns. The reason I brought that up is because we do typically have silvery legless lizard, that's a subterranean lizard that lives in the sand um, near vegetation, which it looks like this area is kind of like in an area that they might be present, but if we're not using any heavy equipment, it should be okay. And my recommendation would be to go ahead and check sea level rise analysis for the placement of the posts.
Perfect, Noah. I have all of that written down. Thank you so much for your comments, Noah. Really appreciate it. Clark, I saw your hand raised, so why don't you go ahead and let us know
Great.
comments?
Yeah, thank you. It's really more, it was described, let's begin the discussion. So this isn't a recommendation yet, it's just a discussion for Dr. Sam. So thank you for, caretaking this section of beach. I think we do have issues, particularly at night. And I know I understand from law enforcement, a lot of times it's hard to enforce trespass, right, without some marker of that. So I do think it's a public safety issue to be able to, have law enforcement help manage this location. One of the opportunities here to think about is this structure. I know a lot of thought's gone into it. Biodegradable rope means that, it's not going to break down. It will break down, but it's not going to become dangerous, rust out like steel. I mean, I do have some questions about the nature of the posts. And I appreciate the low impact installation approach. What's interesting about this is that, and I guess this is a question, I saw a note that crossing the drainage, there was a handwritten note about 30 feet on center at that point. So I'm assuming that means that the approximate center line of that beach outflow, the idea is to try and get 15 feet either side of that. Is that what that note is suggesting?
I can speak to that. So the note was implying that the posts would be stationed at 30-foot intervals. So we were going to try to straddle the stream to make sure that, so I guess 15 feet on each side.
Okay.
Where
And
the
then-
concern comes in is with that 100-foot ESHA buffer.
Right. And then what's the center to center spacing throughout the rest of the fence? I didn't find that indicated.
It should be a post every 30 feet. We have asked the applicant to update the site plan, make it a little bit neater, just to show the exact spacing of those. So as soon as I get that site plan, I'm happy to send that over.
Well, this is just a thought, again, not a recommendation, but when we do living shoreline work, one of the ways to do that is to create posts, in the wind flow every so many feet on center. And if this is a parcel that's really just a private buffer for Dr. Sam, I understand that one of the houses adjacent is the one that his family lives in. Is that true? Dr. Sam, you live on site?
Yes, I live at 24742 Malibu Road, the house right to the west of this lot.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things we do, and to keep cleaning. So there's the vertical posts will create little ripples in the sand over time, and without doing much, eventually those disruptions there in the wind flow can begin to build dune habitat behind, if it's not raked, right? If it's not cleaned and things. So this is a thought for discussion, not a recommendation. But if you have interest in long-term protecting this area and beautifying it, making it kind of more like a garden than a useless lot, there could be approaches independent of this process. I'm not looking to gum up the works here, But to turn that separation between the public on the beach and the private lot into better habitat, it could be actually an improvement area. And I could be so bold, you might even consider taking a conservation easement over it. If you don't intend to do it and you wouldn't want anyone to build there, maybe your heirs want that lot open, that could have a tax benefit. So I'm just kind of throwing these things out to you as, a possible way forward, in addition to this initial separation, so that it might be more than just, protected from trash and encampment. It could be, potentially a beneficial habitat tooth. And there's some sea level rise help that comes from what they call living shorelines, these coastal dune habitats, if you get them established. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there as a thought. Otherwise, I have no objections to the project as I understand it. Just to build a possible future outcome.
Okay,
No, yeah, I appreciate the recommendation, and it's something we'll definitely be looking into. But just for the record, we cannot build this lot. I mean, there's so many obstacles as is, with easements from bunch of homes for sunbathing and other easements, and and we have been trying to beautify it as much as possible. When we took over the lot about 4 years ago, I mean, the fence was broken. There was a fence placed by Army Corps of Engineers when they fixed the Malibu Road, and it was like 20 plus years ago, and it had rusted and collapsed, and nobody wanted to fix it. We put in our own money, and we want the neighborhood to look good. It looked really horrible when we took over. We did landscaping. We're keeping up. We helped. We cooperated with the city. They also were helpful. Shoring one side of the road, putting sidewalks on that on top of this. Not sidewalk, like a cement drainage, so Malibu Road doesn't collapse. And we cooperate with them every way we can. We are doing whatever, even spending money out of pocket to beautify it because it's next to our house.
Yeah, and
and
Doctor, I have the sense of that. That's why I went forward and talked about, because land is a bundle of rights, as you know, and it's interesting to hear that there's sort of sunbathing easements and all these other things. Unless there's an easement that specifically precludes single family development on a single family residential development lot, there's a giveaway value. There's a donative value to that. It would have to be established by an assessor, right? An appraiser, I should say. But it's potentially, if the family in perpetuity would like to see this as permanent beach coastline buffer, it wouldn't preclude your access to it or anybody else's, but there could be something there to protect it from someone who's maybe less realistic and sensible than you're being about all the impediments to building. It would protect it from building, and you could potentially receive some value from that. There's no guarantee. I know you bought it cheap, as you said. So, but anyway, just something. I don't know if you're estate planning or anything. You've looked at that. It's really more of a tax attorney thing, but there might be a way to protect it for public benefit. That's what an easement does. You're basically saying it won't be built, and only these uses like dune restoration or habitat enhancement with careful access. Anyway, it's a lot of information for now. I'm going to not take any more time, but it's something that you might look into, and this could be permanently protected habitat with careful access from the adjacent neighbors.
I appreciate the input. Definitely we'll look into it, see what benefits it can have for us and for for the neighbors and the community. We'll look into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Patrick or Jennifer, do either of you have any comments at this time?
I don't have any, no.
Okay.
I don't know. Thank you.
Okay.
So I guess my recommendation there, Courtney, is that the landowner look into permanent protection and habitat restoration
Okay,
on the
so
property.
formal recommendation to look into habitat restoration?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't require compliance. It's just a friendly recommendation.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, if that concludes the ERB member comments on this project, I think we're ready to move on to our other project on the dock. Is that right? Okay. Brenna, thanks so much for joining us. I know you have to run, so thanks so much for your time. And I think we are gonna move on. Let me pull up the agenda one more time. We will move on to item number A, or item A, Coastal Development Permit 23-026, and I will pass it off to Planner Eaton.
Thank you, Courtney. This next item is for a proposed water well that will service a single-family residence. This residence is not able to receive water from the Los Angeles County Waterworks District. They received a will not serve letter, so they can't plug into the county utilities. And the placement of the proposed water well is within 100 feet of environmentally sensitive habitat area, which requires another variance. Next slide, please. So this project is located north of Anacapa View Drive, along Foxview Drive, which is about a little road easement that goes off of Anacapa. The well location is on the north west portion of the lot. It is more than 100 feet from a mapped blue line stream below, but it is within 100 feet of some shrubland eschia to the west there. The single family home is going to be placed on the top of the slope, which is to the east of the lot. But this, as we'll get into in a little bit, the location of the well was the only feasible location that the applicant can choose for specifically for the water well. Next slide. So just a little background information. As mentioned, in February 2018, the applicant applied for a new single-family home, Coastal Development Permit 18003, and they received a will not serve letter from the LA County Waterworks District 29. That brought us to where we are today. On April 26, 2023, the applicant submitted the application before you, which is for the water well, which will service that single-family home, providing the only potable water supply for that home. Next slide. The land use plan, the LCP's land use plan, it's similar to the Malibu general plan. It's basically the general plan of the LCP. It has a provision, LUP Chapter 5, that new development must provide evidence of a potable water supply. So that is why the house was basically put on hold when they received their will not serve letter until the city can determine that a potable water source is available on site to support the new development. Next slide. So really the big issue why the water well needs to be within 100 feet of the shrubland eschia. There's a series of on-site wastewater treatment systems that are in the area, the neighbor to the north, the neighbor to the east, and their own on-site wastewater treatment system that is proposed. And the LCP requires that there's a 150-foot setback from those on-site wastewater treatment systems. Excuse me. Sometimes the geology department and the environmental health department are akin to a lesser setback if the soils are conducive. In this case, the soils are not the adequate type that would benefit from a lower setback. If the recommendation was if the 150-foot required setback is not met, that it could contaminate the water well. So as you see here, the circle of red rings represent the various 150-foot setbacks from the nearby on-site wastewater treatment systems. leaving a very narrow corner, the north west corner of the lot, as the only option for this applicant to install the water well. Next slide, please. So just to give you kind of an idea of what the site conditions look like, it's a steep slope, 3-to-1, that goes down to about a 2-to-1 slope that feeds into that drainage area that connects to the Blue Line Stream further south. There's a series of 6 oak trees in the area. The proposed water well is outside the drip line of those trees, but just to give you kind of a view of the topography here. Next slide. So that concludes the presentation on this one, and any recommendations you have will be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that presentation. I believe I saw the applicant team. So did you guys want? Oh,
Luke Tar is here from the applicant team. And Luke, would you care to provide any additional comments?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you all. No, that's it. I just wanted to point out that we did this single family house did come before ERB 2019, and we got the biology approval for the house already. And so right now we're just looking for the approval for the water well. And we're here for any questions. The biologist is here also if there's any questions.
perfect. Thank you so much, Luke. All right, so I think we're gonna open it up to ERB members. Is there any ERB member that wants to begin? Comments? Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, sure. So what was the nature of the will not serve letter? Was it due to lack of capacity or lack of physical infrastructure to the project site?
I think it's both. There's the county is doing improvements in this area, and so most of the development, especially really to the north here against the city boundary line, don't have either the capacity or the infrastructure capable of serving the lots. If what I forgot to mention is the lot to the north is also serviced by a water well as well.
And then for the well itself, what additional appurtenances or infrastructure is being proposed to get the water from the well to the property in the ESHA zone?
There's a water tank proposed with the single family residence that the well will carry the water up. That's closer to the house because because of the proximity to ESHA, there's a 10,000 square foot development area that they're limited to. And so that tank is within the development area. And that the development is outside of the ESHA, but the fuel modification impacts from the single family home will push into ESHA. So that project will also require a variance.
And that's separate from this discussion?
Yeah, we have to first determine that a potable water supply is available on site before we move forward with the house.
Okay, those are all the questions that I had.
No formal recommendations at this time, Patrick?
Not based on what Tyler said.
Okay. Okay. Clark, I saw your hand go up first.
Yeah, so I guess a follow-up to Patrick's question then. So does that mean that although approval for the house has been received, that it will need to be re-reviewed relative to these other elements? So you mentioned the tank. What else comes up for review at that point? And there's a specific, admittedly kind of fussy reason for this, and it's because I noticed the position of the on-site wastewater treatment system does overlap the blue line that apparently wasn't a blue line in the original ESA report, right? So that 150, I'm not familiar with the setback requirements from on-site wastewater to blue lines, but is that 150 feet that's shown just for the well, or does that also potentially overlap the riparian center line in a way that could require a non-standard approval?
Yeah, it's a great question. Courtney, do you know offhand the setback from the OWTS to the stream?
What it actually is or what is required by code?
What is required?
One
Yeah.
hundred feet.
It is 100. Okay, so it's probably okay. That was my only question. I was like, it's a big puzzle piece, right? So if you've got, the on-site wastewater where it is, and by the way, first of all, appreciate it's very clear that the architects are trying to keep the impact to the issue minimized, right? They're right up against that easement in the front, and I see that it's a linear project. They're trying to make it as skinny for the most part as possible, but because of some of the on-site development work, the pool, et cetera, and setback requirements from the house itself, it positioned the on-site wastewater treatment in what appears to be the most practical and least impactful location. So I guess the bottom line is with that 100 feet, I'm of the belief that based on the scale of this, that won't be an impact in and of itself, that on-site wastewater treatment system. So therefore, that location in my mind is fixed, which then sets the well. Now I'll get to my recommendation part of this. It's clear from the mapping of the bio report that that easement is a vector for, they mentioned castor bean, and like that's where all the non-natives are, right? So I would like to see effort made in BMPs for access vehicles to be clean and appropriately treated going into this site. In and out of, actually, because it's pretty striking, that map, right? It shows that everywhere that a vehicle goes, you've got bad things coming into good habitat, right? And ultimately, I'd love to see this expressed also in the landscape for the project, to the extent possible, expansion of that oak woodland, et cetera, that has wildfire benefits, wildfire resilience benefits as well. I know the slope may not be favorable for that, but one at a time, the recommendation is careful consideration of BMPs for vehicular access to and from the site so as not to transmit. We just see this all over, right? Everywhere the problems begin with the access of vehicles for construction, and they continue anywhere that there's, access. So I'd like to see that if it's not already in there. Sorry if I missed it. And then again, we'll look forward to seeing how the zone 0, 1, and 2 is being handled on this property if it comes back for that at some point for landscape. Other than that, I think the geometries are as good as they can be. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Clark. Really appreciate those comments. No, I saw your hand go up. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, yes. So I have a couple of questions about, I don't know if I saw in the project documents actually anything about the construction of the well and what that's going to look like, or the depth, and how is it below a non-permeable layer where it's going to be sourcing the water from, and also like what's the above ground structure going to look like? And the reason I ask those questions is, first of all, I want to make sure that we're not providing any sort of fuel clearance for the well structure, which could impact the ESHA zone. And the second thing is I want to make sure that this well is not just for potable water, it's also for fire suppression, right? It's also supposed to be able to maintain enough water on site to, service firefighting operation according to the documents provided. So I want to make sure that this water is not drying. It's right at the tip of that blue line stream. And so I want to make sure that this is not drawing down water resources for the surrounding vegetations, including the oak trees that are nearby.
Great, thank you. No, Luke, do you want to speak to the design of the well? Typically the well is there's like a little dome that draws the water up. and then it'll push the water up towards the tank at the top. But what, Luke, do you want to get into the specifics of that?
Sure. As far as the stage that this approval is at, it's my understanding that right now we are getting the permit for the water well to actually do the tests to basically see how much water is there. I think that that would be one of the tests that it's done on the water well as far as the quantity of water, but we haven't been able to do the tests on the water because I believe we need approval from city to do the water well drilling itself.
Have you had a diviner on the site?
I'm sorry, a what?
Yeah, so I believe in these things. I've seen it when I've done work in arid areas in the West. There are well witchers that actually, there are relatively few, but I've seen them predict a 221-foot water source well at somewhere between 218 and 230, and also the flow rate. So it's a low impact way. It basically involves the right person walking out with a wand. I swear this, I've seen this happen more than once in places, and it's a good way of estimating and knowing your expense for the depth of your well and where your water source is. Just wanted to throw that kind of strange recommendation out there that this is an actual practice that in places that rely on wells in the arid Mountain West, there are people who do this and they have a very good track record of predicting depth and flow rate. It's hydrogeologists that don't have, PhDs and stuff.
Yeah, I think right now we are getting the water well drilling permit, so I think that part of the
Sorry,
recommend.
lost you there. Does anyone
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
don't think. Yeah, can you hear me?
Did I drop off?
We can hear you both.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear Luke for a minute. That's my connection. I apologize. But another way to do it is to look at the well records next door, and that was going to be my question. Like, where's the well on? You said there's one other well served property there. What's the depth and flow rate there?
Yeah, we'll have to look into that one. I want to say it's approximately 50 feet or maybe 100 feet to the north on the northerly parcel.
That might answer Noah's questions about, where it is relative to lenses or, impermeable layers.
Thank you for that suggestion. We'll definitely look into that.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you still have to do the analysis to figure out if it's even going to be feasible to place a well there. And if you can't place a well there, then the whole single family residence is like under question whether or not it can even be built. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So a little clarification point. The single family residence has not been approved yet. It's basically put on hold. It did go through ERB, the recommendation body, a long time ago, 2020 or so. But it has not received approval from the city yet. And so this, as Luke was saying, is more of a test to see if they have the water availability to support the home.
Okay. So I have recommendations, and my recommendation would be that whatever sort of structure is proposed for the well, that it be resilient to fire so that we don't have to have 100-foot buffer of fuel modification around it. And also, I would like to, before the well is built, I'd like to have, recommend some sort of assurance that the depth of the well will be sufficient, that it's not going to draw down the resources for the habitat that's nearby.
Okay. we'll definitely do that. Just for everyone, I don't believe the well will require fuel modification because it's not a habitable structure.
Correct. However, you have to consider that this well is going to be providing the firefighting capacity for the site.
Yeah.
So if the well becomes engulfed, it's not going to be able to provide that for the house.
Right. So the recommendation is that the structure proposed for the well be resilient to fire, is what I heard, right?
Yes.
Well, I would actually, from my recommendation, not to speak to Noah's, I would like to, I guess, have a conditioned recommendation for approval to be that no fuel modification will be allowed within more than, let's say, 5 feet from the wellhead. And even then it's an issue, right? But 5 feet being 5 feet non-combustible max, and no modification to habitat, to native habitat, right? The ESHA, at all beyond that.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay. I've gotten both of those recommendations down. Thank you both. Jennifer, do you have any recommendations at this time?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, last call for recommendations? No? Okay.
First, can I very quickly just thank everyone for your participation today, but also update you that we will be holding a regularly scheduled ERB meeting next month. And hear at least 2 proposed developments at that meeting, but there is also the potential that we may need to schedule an interim meeting partway into June, and we're still finalizing the potential for that. I'll be in touch with people as soon as we have a confirmation.
Rebecca, do you happen to know the date of the regularly scheduled June ERB meeting? Is it the 19th or the 26th?
I can find that out for you 1 second. It is June 26th
Okay.
at 9 a.m. We will be hearing 2 proposed developments at that meeting. And again, there's a potential that sometime mid-June, we will be adding another ERB meeting in order to hear a time-sensitive development that relies on grant funding.
Noah, I saw your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so you said June 26th?
Yes.
Okay. And might I make a request? And I don't know if this is feasible or not. But we usually get the project documents no more than 1 week before the meeting. If we could get like a week and a half or even 2 weeks, that would be really helpful. I love to be able to go out and do a site visit to see the site for myself. And with the short timelines, it's often not feasible.
I'll do my best. I do rely on having the reports available to provide. So I can discuss that further with our planning staff to see if there's any potential for things to come to me a little bit sooner. But I don't want to promise until I can see if I can deliver.
And if we don't have like a full report available, but we just have like, an address and a site plan, I think that would be sufficient to be able to at
Okay.
least take a look.
All right.
Right.
I'll talk to our planning staff and see what we can do.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you everybody for your time, and we will see you guys soon. If not next month, sooner than that. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.